This channel is supported by Truefire. Truefire is an online library of
enough. You can get the Truefire All Access Pass for as cheap as they ever do it, the $99 thing. So just jump and do that if you're looking for the best price that you can get Truefire All Access for.
Okay, one of the ways that I like to evaluate a guitar in general, because I think it gives us a little bit of a different window on certain things, is on a gig. Now, this is LED through milk all over the car and all over my jacket yesterday, but it's keeping me warm. Anyway, so I got a chance to gig this. Now, if you were watching the video a couple of days ago, I did also take to this gig the PRS S2 semi-hollow special, which is like a $3,000 kind of guitar. This is 10 times cheaper, and I think this is part of what makes me feel a bit stupid about this, is that I actually had a great time gigging this guitar. So, yes, this is the artist. I think it's called the AT73. I've done a couple of videos with it already. It's a mahogany body, this paisley, eye-catching, you know, for a lot of people. Maybe not for good reasons, all of them, but I definitely had a couple of people asking me, you know, what's the story of this guitar then? Which doesn't happen with most of my guitars, I think, because I normally make very boring choices, but this was, you know, comment-worthy at least, which I guess is maybe not a bad sign, right? Mahogany body, roasted maple neck, 14-inch radius, 2 handmade, hand-wound pickups, Lao, or however they pronounce it. Normal kind of telly setup, but with 22 frets, locking tuners, and I guess, yeah, the good news was they actually, of the cheaper guitars that I've played, I would say that this is the best feeling guitar that I've ever had on a gig. So I would put it up there with like the PRS DGT SE. So cheaper stuff that I've tried gigging, the Ibanez AZ was fine, but like the neck on that felt a little bit raw, where this doesn't. It just feels great. Then another guitar that I've tried gigging was the Squier Debut, which is the cheapest guitar I've ever gigged. That was like £119. That was really, really enjoyable and particularly sounded good on the gig. I was playing it with a Bad Cat. And then I've also gigged the PRS SE24 Satin. Again, I'd say that feels a little bit raw, whereas this actually feels really refined, because I think they've put a lot of attention into the neck. And yeah, this is one of the things that the website suggests, that they've put kind of time and energy into, you know, upskilling the factory and giving them some tips. I think the guy was in China for about 2 or 3 years, apparently, and giving them tips on how to build a better guitar, essentially. And this is, yeah, the thing that actually I was totally happy gigging this thing, and that's not necessarily what you'd expect from a £319 guitar once you've already gone up and, you know, played some of the more expensive stuff. I think there is that idea, for me, in my head at least, that once you've gone expensive, are you necessarily ever going to be kind of happy coming back down and playing less expensive gear? But on that gig, it was kind of close you know, not loads of room on stage and quite a few people on stage. And it was one of those things where actually I felt a little bit more comfortable with this in that space than the, you know, £3,000 PRS semi-hollow. And there's a bunch of gigs that I do that are like that, where it's like, actually, you know, do I want to take my K-lines to these gigs? Do I want to take a Nitro to these gigs? Actually, I think for a lot of you guys as well, maybe just, you know, it's about having a guitar that will do the job. Doesn't have to be flash, and is going to get you through. And it stayed in tune really well. As I say, comfortable. The neck is not too skinny for me. The radius is what it is. For me, if artists made a guitar that was like close to a 10-inch radius, I think I'd prefer it, but it feels fine. It's got enough sort of fight that it felt really comfortable, whereas I kind of say with the PRS stuff, in some ways that feels a little bit too easy to play for me. Not that it is easy to play, but you know what I mean, where it's got a really smooth feel, whereas this, because it's like telly-based, has a little bit more fight. It's one of those things where, like, if you didn't have the knowledge that this was, you know, a £319 guitar, totally feels like a more premium guitar. 2-3 times the price easily. Holds tune well, sounds good. It was a bit of a noisy venue, so I wasn't really able to evaluate whether these single coils in particular were any noisier than anything else. They didn't have feedback issues. They didn't have microphonic issues, so that's great. One of the things that these cheaper guitars that when I've taken them out to a gig, sometimes you get a bit of a nasty surprise when you plug them into like a louder rig and you're like, oh, well, these pickups are not working particularly well, you know. Those are some of the things that I've found. But in any case, yes, it's a little bit heavier than I would like, owing to the mahogany body, probably. But other than that, absolutely fantastic and totally gig worthy. It's got like rolled fretboard edges, stainless steel frets, so this is actually kind of a guitar that, to my mind, is like worthy of that workhorse type situation where it's like, you know, if you had a run of gigs, if you're, you know, regularly gigging, I think, what is there to complain about? I'm particularly interested to see some of their other models. We have had a couple of discussions. They've got this telly model, which is not dissimilar to this, but doesn't have the paisley and has a nitro finish. So at some point you may see that appearing on the channel, but I'm particularly impressed. As I say, this is maybe a gap that Sire sort of generated, and then some other companies have kind of taken the ball even a little bit further, you know, where a telly with stainless steel frets under £1,000, you're not finding other companies doing this sort of stuff much at all, right? But we are now. So yeah, very impressed. 100% would gig it again. So see what happens. It's definitely one of those gigs, one of those guitars that it's like if you had a pub gig down at the Thirsty Duck, take this one along. And even the paisley, I think, it's kind of got a bit of a vibe to it, right? As I said in previous videos, the only issues that I can really point out with it are maybe just that this pick guard is a bit sloppily, like some of the screws are like not super well aligned, and it's not necessarily in exactly the right position. But the things that matter on the guitar most of all, like the neck, the action, the frets, those things, to me, they've absolutely nailed it, especially when you consider that it's a £319 guitar. If it was £700, I'd still be impressed. And, you know, if you think about what Fender are building at around the £1,000 mark, I think this is even more impressive.